Today's dinner is all Anna's favorite. I'm sure Anna will be delighted. I lay out the dishes on the table while picturing my granddaughter's happy face. As I prepare dinner, Anna's eyes also fill with sparkle. But the next moment, looking at the table lined with ingredients, Anna suddenly looked down. Look, Anna, your favorite food. Aren't you going to eat? My husband also peered at Anna's face and asked, but she suddenly got up from her seat. Then, Anna ran straight to her bag and started rummaging through it. Watching her actions curiously, she took out a Tupperware from her bag. Can I take this home? I always feel sorry for Mom. Saying this, Anna started packing the dinner into the Tupperware. We were stunned by our granddaughter's sudden behavior. What does that mean? Can you tell us? My husband Ryan asked calmly, but Anna's face darkened. Mom gets yelled at by Dad for eating. So, she's only allowed to eat leaves. Anna's unexpected words left us speechless. However, Ryan quickly stood up and left the house. I hurriedly tried to stop him. Wait, where are you going? Without changing his expression, Ryan started calling a taxi while holding Anna. Hurry up! We're going to talk to Michael right away. We immediately headed to my daughter's house in a taxi. What we saw there. My name is Susan. I worked as a childcare worker but retired when I got married. I met Ryan when I started working in my 20s. Ryan was the son of an acquaintance. He worked for a major company, seemed taciturn and unfriendly, but was competent at work. Ryan, 8 years my senior, had failed to find the right person before me. He joined the management department of his company at a young age, had excellent academic credentials, and a high income. But he was slightly difficult, rarely smiled, and was quiet. He was not good at socializing and mostly talked about work during our meetings. Still, Ryan's earnest attitude to communicate won me over gradually. He was more sensitive than I thought and caring towards others. After our arranged meeting, we began to see each other more. 3 months later, he asked me out. Our relationship deepened, and 2 years later, we married and bought a house, building a happy home. Life was fulfilling. But there was one problem. 2 years into our marriage, we were still childless. Colleagues and friends who married around the same time had children, but we did not. We both loved kids and were saddened by our situation. 5 years into our marriage. We were about to give up hope when we were blessed with our daughter, Isabel. We were overjoyed at finally being able to conceive. I remember feeling ecstatic about finally becoming parents. With Isabel's birth, our life began to shine. Everything revolved around Isabel. Even busy Ryan began to decline his colleagues' invitations, coming straight home for dinner. On his days off, we went on trips, making family time. We adored Isabel immensely. As she grew up and became a university student, she moved away from home. Isabel was still young among us, so her independence worried us. Especially Ryan, he was more worried than anyone else about her, who was living away from us for the first time. Is Isabel eating well? She's fine. She always keeps in touch. Daily photos of her meals sent by Isabel became our joy. A year after she left, Isabel called, her voice bright, wanting to introduce someone. Nervously, we met them during her long break at home. I'm dating Isabel. The well-dressed young man, Michael, came to our house. They hit it off in the same school and started dating. Although startled by Isabel's first boyfriend, we warmed up to the friendly and cheerful Michael. Michael visited our home with Isabel several times. Since Isabel was an only child, we doted on Michael like a son. Ryan and Michael got along well, occasionally going for drinks. We bonded with Michael like a real family. After graduation, Isabel got a job in a major city. We were proud and supported her. Months later, Michael proposed. They couldn't live together due to their jobs. Wanting to stay together, Isabel agreed to marry. Isabel became a homemaker, leaving her job at Michael's request. She accepted this, quitting her new job. But we should have known more about Michael sooner. As a full-time homemaker, Isabel, supporting her family, used to visit our house about once every 6 months. Since getting married and living in the city, due to Michael's work schedule, it's been hard for Isabel to visit. Michael seems busier with work after marriage, often working late every day. Isabel told me this over our daily phone calls. Waiting up late for Michael and preparing dinner has become Isabel's job, she said. Though Michael seemed tired, Isabel's voice on the phone also sounded weary. Are you getting enough sleep? It's nice to wait for Michael, but you can't afford to get sick yourself. Isabel cheerily assured me she was fine, but recently admitted feeling a bit unwell daily. Feeling sleepy and disliking the smell of cooking, her favorite activity. I didn't have this before. Isabel sounded down about suddenly not being able to eat her favorite foods. When she spoke of her poor health, it reminded me of something. Concerned for Isabel, I suggested she visit a doctor. Initially surprised, she trusted my advice and agreed to go. I think something wonderful is going to happen to you. About a month later, Isabel called, wanting to talk. Usually, she'd schedule calls, but this sudden one surprised me. Hello? What's wrong? I asked, sounding worried. From the other end, I heard Isabel's voice, unable to contain her joy. What could have happened? Actually, I'm pregnant. Isabel excitedly shared the news and I clapped my hands. She was indeed pregnant. When she first mentioned her symptoms, I had a hunch. They were the same as when I first got pregnant with her. Apparently, she's about 2 months in and had already told Michael. I was overjoyed at my only daughter's pregnancy news. The thought of having a grandchild, of my daughter becoming a mother, was exhilarating. That night, I shared the news with Ryan, who cried with joy more than I did. Then he cried even more than me for joy. I'd never seen him cry before. It was truly surprising. Isabel becoming a mother. I can't believe it. She was so little once. Ryan said, deeply moved. I, too, felt elated. We struggled to have children, but now our beloved daughter is pregnant. With Isabel's pregnancy, we started visiting her frequently, helping out as Michael was often away for work. Isabel's morning sickness was worse than mine, and with her being pregnant, I worried about the strain. So, with Isabel and Michael's permission, I started helping with household chores. Thanks to that, Isabel, who had been struggling with morning sickness, began to recover gradually. A few months later, she safely gave birth to a girl. Michael couldn't be there, so we stayed by Isabel's side. Life seemed hectic for her after that, struggling to balance newborn care and household duties. With Michael away for work, Isabel, as a full-time homemaker, had to manage everything. As we saw her getting increasingly tired from childcare, we made a suggestion to Michael. Is it true there's a nice house available? We had told Michael about a newly built house. Ryan's acquaintance had built it but suddenly got transferred and had to sell it. With no buyers, they were just about to put it on the market when they consulted Ryan. Knowing that Isabel and her family had been considering buying a house since their marriage, and with their growing family, Ryan brought it up to them. Isabel had mentioned their current place was getting cramped, especially with Anna's arrival. We suggested to Michael that now might be a good time to buy, as it was a bargain. It meant moving a bit to the countryside, to the neighboring county, which would also make it easier for me to visit Isabel. That's what I thought too. To our surprise, Michael agreed easily, and they decided to move to the house. We helped with the move. On moving day, I noticed Isabel looked a bit pale. You don't look so well. Is something wrong? Isabel hesitated but shook her head and said it was nothing. Maybe it was just the fatigue of parenting. Don't overdo it. Moms need breaks too. Thanks, Mom. I'm okay, just a bit tired, Isabel said with a troubled smile. I could only watch her worriedly. I wondered if she didn't like the new house, but she soon returned to her usual calm demeanor, so I didn't press it. After the move, they were closer to us. And Michael even arranged a transfer at work to be near home. Isabel started visiting more often, sometimes staying over. Anna, now walking around, had grown so much, it was hard to see any trace of the baby she once was. Each visit brought new surprises at how quickly she was growing. Anna's gotten so big lately, it's hard to keep up with her. Isabel sighed. It was like I was looking at my old self, and I couldn't help but smile. It reminded me of Isabel as a child, always running around. I shared these memories with Isabel, who just chuckled and asked to drop the old stories. Anna, now 3, was full of curiosity, always running off somewhere. It's amazing how fast kids grow. "Grandma, let's play over here." Anna's innocent smile reminded me of when she was born. A child who was still too small to run has grown so big. It's bittersweet to see her grow so fast. Kids grow up so quickly. Maybe you'll have a second one soon? Stop it, Mom. As I spoke jokingly, I felt Isabel's face darkened at the comment. She gave a short reply and quickly changed the topic. Since Anna's birth, Isabel's usually cheerful demeanor seemed off. She had always laughed things off, but I had never seen her so clearly troubled. What could have happened? I tried to ask, but the conversation always moved on, making it hard to inquire. They continued visiting every couple of months. But when Anna turned 6, their visits suddenly stopped. They used to come over regularly, but recently it's been only phone calls. Isabel used to share her parenting troubles, but now her responses were curt. "I'm busy right now, sorry." Every day ended with an abrupt hang-up from Michael, without any reason. We couldn't even see or talk to Anna, who used to visit us so often, let alone our dear daughter Isabel. No matter how much we asked for a reason, we only got "nothing's wrong" as an answer. Helplessly, I even tried calling Michael, but the response was just as indifferent. "Sorry, I'm busy right now. Can we talk later?" He'd say in a cold voice before hanging up, leaving me unable to get through to him. Ryan also tried calling several times after I consulted with him, but he received the same indifferent attitude. "I wonder what's going on with Isabel and her family. They used to come over so often," Ryan said, sounding dejected, and I nodded in agreement. We felt uneasy as they suddenly stopped visiting us. However, a few days later, things changed a bit. Previously, it was Isabel who called, but now it was almost always Michael. That day, Michael called with what seemed like an update, but since I was out, Ryan answered. "Is work keeping you busy? Anna must be getting quite big now, right?" Ryan tried to make light conversation, but Michael's responses were still curt. Unable to hear from his daughter and granddaughter, Ryan lost his patience and asked Michael. "We haven't seen your faces in a while. When can we come over?" At first, Michael seemed reluctant to agree. But Ryan, not having seen Isabel and Anna for over 2 months, insisted. Michael kept saying he was too busy, but Ryan persisted, saying they would just meet briefly and leave. Then, Michael made an unexpected proposal. "The long weekend is coming up, right? I want Anna to experience staying in your place, so can she stay over by herself?" Ryan was taken aback by Michael's suggestion. I returned home at that moment and overheard Ryan on the phone discussing letting Anna stay over alone. We looked at each other, deeply worried. The thought of our young 6-year-old granddaughter being apart from her parents made us uneasy. We tried to persuade Michael against it, arguing that Anna could learn to act independently at another time, but he was adamant. "Anna is already 6 years old. She'll be fine alone," he insisted, leaving us with no more arguments. Of course, we wanted to see Anna, but we also really wanted to see our daughter Isabel. We were concerned about Isabel, who had been lamenting the challenges of parenting, but ultimately, due to being busy with household duties, Isabel didn't come. In the end, it was decided that only Anna would stay over. While we were sad not to see Isabel, the thought of seeing Anna after so long made our hearts leap. When the long weekend started, we picked Anna at their house. As soon as she went outside from her house and saw us, she ran towards us with a big smile. "It's been a while," I greeted her. "Grandpa, Grandma," Anna reported happily. We hugged her tightly, relieved and proud of her growth. "We're so happy to see you." Unfortunately, Isabel was out of the house when we arrived and we couldn't meet her. However, we savored the long-awaited reunion and, on our way home, stopped to buy Anna's favorite sweets. That day, we played until evening, making up for the lost time. Anna, who hadn't seen us in months, could now read and entertained us with stories from her picture books. As we prepared dinner, we cherished Anna's significant growth. Ryan bathed Anna while I prepared her favorite meals. Seeing the table set with her favorite ingredients, Anna, fresh from her bath, lit up and eagerly dug in. "All my favorites!" she exclaimed, clinging to the table with a smile that made me happy too. When we sat down for dinner and Anna lowered her face suddenly, I found it strange and watched her closely. Ryan, worried, spoke to her. "Look, Anna, your favorite food. Aren't you going to eat?" He leaned in and asked, but Anna suddenly got up from her seat. She went straight to her bag and started rummaging through it. I was curious about her actions, and she unexpectedly pulled out a Tupperware container. "Can I take this home? I always feel sorry for Mom," she said abruptly and began packing the dinner into the Tupperware. As I watched in confusion, Ryan immediately asked her for an explanation. "What does that mean? Can you tell us?" he asked gently. Anna, looking downcast, struggled to find the words. "Mom gets yelled at by Dad for eating. So, she's only allowed to eat leaves." I was speechless at her unexpected words. What could have happened to Isabel and her family during the time we couldn't see them? Unable to comprehend Anna's words, Ryan quickly stood up. Sensing something, he grabbed his phone and wallet and hurried out of the house. "Wait! Where are you going?" I called out, trying to stop him. But Ryan, without changing his expression, picked up Anna and started calling a taxi. "Hurry up! We need to talk to Michael right now." We rushed into the taxi that arrived a few minutes later. Ryan, holding my hand tightly, couldn't hide his surprise. To Anna, who was nervously fidgeting, he assured, "It's okay." Taking a deep breath, he looked at Anna. "Grandpa and Grandma are going to give Mom and Dad a surprise visit. Can Anna help us rescue Mom?" he asked, gazing directly at her. Anna's eyes lit up, and she nodded. Seeing them, I also took a deep breath and decided to change my mindset. Such a small child should not be sad. I reassured Anna several times that everything would be okay. "Do you know a spot in the house where we can see inside from the garden? Can you show us?" Ryan asked kindly. Anna, as if remembering something, nodded strongly. "I know. I'm good at hide and seek," she said confidently, and Ryan hugged her tightly. About an hour later, we arrived at the house and decided to observe from behind the external wall. The lights inside the house were still on, and we could see the living room. Anna, breathing heavily, guided us. Holding our smartphones, we ran to a spot in the garden and hid in the shadows. Anna, seemingly excited about hiding outside, smiled happily. My heart ached seeing her like this, and I hugged her protectively. The spot we hid in faced a small window with a screen. We could clearly see inside the living room, and Ryan quickly prepared his phone. Suddenly, we heard a loud voice yelling from inside. Ryan pointed his phone towards the noise and started recording. It appeared that Michael was yelling at Isabel. I felt the blood drain from my face when I saw Isabel, who looked completely different from before. Her once lustrous hair was now unkempt and messy. Furthermore, she had become extremely thin, her face pale and gaunt. Ryan recorded the scene, his face twisted in anger. Michael's voice echoed outside, and Anna trembled at the sound, which seemed to be a regular occurrence. Our beloved daughter and granddaughter endured such cruelty. I bit my lip in rising anger. Michael's voice grew louder, and at one point, he swung his hand at Isabel. Ryan immediately burst out, yelling at the window. "Stop it! What are you doing?" he shouted, and Michael and Isabel noticed us. "What? Why are you guys here?" Michael began to panic. Seizing the moment, Isabel unlocked the screen door and rushed into my arms. She had become so frail that I hesitated to hug her. "No, it's not like that. There's a reason for this." Michael started making excuses as he realized he was at a disadvantage. Ryan glared at him. "Be quiet. None of that matters now. Our daughter's life is the top priority." Michael lost his words, his face turning pale. I stood protectively in front of the frightened Anna and Isabel. Ryan kept an eye on Michael to ensure he didn't do anything. Soon after, an ambulance arrived, and we watched as Isabel was taken to the hospital. Ryan immediately contacted the police and reported the abuse his daughter had suffered. He provided the video he recorded to the arriving officers. Michael was then arrested on the spot. A search of the house began, and Anna testified that Michael had been physically abusing Isabel regularly. Inside the house, they found Michael's diary, which detailed his regular assaults on Isabel. The diary we found written by Michael contained his dissatisfaction with Isabel not regaining her pre-pregnancy figure after giving birth to Anna. He had been forcing Isabel to follow an extreme diet. He monitored her weight daily, scrutinizing her for not getting back in shape, and took complete control over her meals. Among the diet plans, there was even one that allowed only 3 lettuce leaves a day. That's when I understood what Anna meant when she said they could only eat leaves. Initially, Isabel had resisted and shown defiance to Michael, but when she ate anything outside the diet menu, she was assaulted. Fearful, she started to comply. Michael's diary even mentioned Anna trying to protect Isabel. He had swung his fist at Anna for intervening, and since then, Isabel had stopped resisting. We learned from the police about the extent of their suffering. It was a regret that we could not fully express. According to the police, Michael was deeply remorseful. However, it was clear that he would face prison time for his assault on Isabel and Anna. We held Anna, who was now left alone, tightly in our arms. Later, Isabel and Michael divorced, as all of Michael's actions had come to light and he was prosecuted. In the aftermath, we took care of Isabel, whose health had not yet fully recovered, and she moved in with us. Anna was overjoyed to be living with us permanently. Freed from the daily assaults, Isabel slowly started to regain her health. Her once frail body, nursed back to health, began to look healthier and fuller. "I've caused you and Dad so much trouble," Isabel said, looking remorseful. I shook my head. I never wanted to see her that frail again. Caring for our precious daughter paid off, and she had now fully regained her usual self. To celebrate Isabel's recovery, we laid out a table of dishes, the meal we had missed that day. Anna's eyes sparkled at the sight of the abundant ingredients. "There's so much. We can eat a lot." "Yes, it's wonderful to be able to eat to our heart's content," Isabel added, happily eating her meal. Watching them, we wished for this peaceful life to continue forever.